You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Mo Kelly, and as we continue, KFI's continuing coverage of the fires, plural, not only the Palisades fire, but also the emerging Eaton Canyon fire. We're getting information on that. And if you're just tuning in, we're going to reset some things. There's a lot of information out there. We don't know where you are in the processing of that information. Maybe you are just getting in your car. Maybe you're just getting off work and you're just getting all this information which is being thrown at you. So we're going to slow down and we're going to reset a lot of what we do know for sure. And I say that with a caveat that it should change over the course of the evening. I'm going to be with you all the way up until midnight, and then Tim Conway Jr. is going to come back to the studio, bless his heart, and go from midnight to 3 a.m. Neil Savager will be in from 3 to 5 a.m., and then Amy King will take over the normal course of things with Wake Up Call at 5 a.m. But here is what we do know for sure as of this moment. That the Pacific Palisades fire began today around 10:30 a.m. We do not know the cause at this point of the blaze. It's grown quickly. You've probably seen some of the video and the pictures so far. And at this point, more than 2,900 acres have been burned. Multiple homes, unfortunately, have been destroyed. And speaking of homes, some 10,000 homes have been threatened. The theater, Palisades, has been destroyed. I use that as just an entry into the destruction, the devastation. We'll get into the exasperation and desperation of those who have been impacted, and it cannot be overstated. Some 30,000 people are under mandatory evacuation orders right now, and I think that's important to highlight that if you are in and around that area, and when I say around that area, you need not wait for a mandatory evacuation order. And even though you may be outside of that area, it's something to consider before you get to a point where you run out of options. You might have seen some of the videos of the people who were stranded in their cars and they decided to go on foot trying to evacuate themselves, their family members, their pets, and they just left their cars right in the middle of the road. You don't want to find yourself in a situation if you need some extra assistance or time in which to get to an alternative, safe location. You don't want to wait to the last moment. We're talking about real people's lives, real people who've lost their homes today. And there's more bad news that I have to report. Because of the Santa Ana winds, we can reasonably expect that this fire is going to grow immeasurably and possibly skip over into other areas because of the Santa Ana winds at about midnight. We're told that the winds should be at their strongest around midnight tonight. That's what we're watching to see, and we're going to hear from different voices over the course of the evening. We expect to be joined at the bottom of the hour by the president of the Pacific Palisades City Council, Sue Cole, who will give us some information. She was someone who was evacuated herself today, and she will give us some insight as far as what she had to go through, what she's hoping to do in the coming days, and how the area, the city is keeping it together. There's a number of things we do want to tell you about these mandatory evacuations, and this should change, but this is the latest information that we have. And of course, working in concert with Eileen Gonzalez of the KFI 24-hour newsroom, we will continue to give you this information as quickly and thoroughly as possible throughout the evening into the morning. But mandatory evacuation orders have been issued from Merrimack Road west to Topanga Canyon Boulevard and south to PCH. And this is coming from the LA Fire Department. Topanga Canyon Beach and Tuna Canyon Park in LA County are also under mandatory evacuation orders. The swath between Carbon Beach and Malibu and Las Flores Canyon Road up to Piama Road is under an evacuation warning, and fire officials have warned the surrounding area to be prepared to leave quickly, as I was saying just a little bit earlier. Shelters, you might have seen, or if you haven't seen, the Westwood Recreation Center, which is at 1350 South Sepulveda Boulevard. The shelter also accepts small animals. And I know as someone who has 2 dogs in our family, they are like family members, but you have to plan in advance. You have to take them into consideration if you might have an evacuation order or if you have to go somewhere in a short amount of time. Please plan in advance. These are the most recent road closures that we can tell you about. Southbound Pacific Coast Highway is closed at Topanga Canyon Boulevard. Southbound Pacific Coast Highway is closed at Las Flores Canyon Road, and southbound Pacific Coast Highway at Coastline Drive. But I can tell you this is a perfect time to pull out your Waze app and your Google Maps, and you will get to see a lot of those road closures on the map, and that will give you obviously up to the minute information. Governor Gavin Newsom has declared the area a disaster area. And we will get, declared a state of emergency. And if you've seen some of the video, some of the images, and I'm not saying this to be funny, and I'm not trying to say this for effect, it looks like something out of a movie. I don't remember when I ever saw fire flying horizontally because of the wind. And this is not something that firefighters are able to wrap their equipment and their resources around at this point. And you may hear different voices talking about how, at least early on, there weren't any firemen because, one, they were trying to evacuate individuals, and also it's in a location which is very difficult for firefighters to reach. This is Jan, who was talking about how she didn't see in her evacuation any firemen.
I think the whole town is going to go because it's so windy right now that they don't have a grasp on anything right now up top here. They were down at where it started, down in the highlands, and didn't realize how fast it was going to come up here, and it is up here. And again, there's no firemen up here. None.
And Jan is one of probably many people who have a legitimate concern about losing their home. We've seen some homes go up in flames, unfortunately, and the fire is going to grow. But this is the reality of what we're dealing with, and Jan verbalizes that.
I have a feeling that I won't have a place to live anymore in my beautiful town that I have loved forever. And I hate to say it, but life goes on. You have to go on. What can you do? I have my dog, I have my car, I have my Social Security, and my birth certificate.
We're going to be with you the rest of the evening all the way to midnight. And as I said earlier, KFI is going to be on this story. And also we're looking at a newer fire which has started to burn in Eaton Canyon near Altadena. We're going to have the latest on that and so much more. So just keep it right here. KFI is going to stay on this through the night into the morning. As I said, Tim Conway Jr. will be joining us. We'll be coming back to the station at midnight tonight. Neil Savager at 3 a.m. and Amy King will start the whole day over at 5 a.m. tomorrow. So keep it right here. I'm Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI AM 640, Mo Kelly here as we continue our coverage of now multiple fires burning in Southern California. Of course, the Pacific Palisades fire, which has burned more than 2,900 acres, and it is by all accounts growing. It is threatening more than 10,000 homes. 30,000 people are presently under mandatory evacuation. And we know that because of the Santa Ana winds, that this could be possibly much worse as the night goes on into the morning. The governor, Gavin Newsom, has declared a state of emergency, and he's going to say it time and time again. I'm going to say it time and time again. Please listen to the fire orders. If you receive a mandatory evacuation order, please follow it for not only your safety, but for the safety of others, safety of first responders, so there are not other people that they have to try to go save or extract from their homes or from those neighborhoods. This was the governor some time ago, earlier today.
And the fact that people were still not evacuated, still did not heed the warning, were just coming down the canyon, is a reminder of how serious this moment is and how important it is you listen to these evacuation orders. Having just quite literally an hour or so ago gone up the canyon and saw firsthand the impact of these swirling winds and the embers and the number of structures that are destroyed. Not a few, many structures already destroyed.
You'll hear over the course of the evening about the difficulty of people trying to evacuate, first by car and then on foot, leaving their cars, unfortunately, in the middle of the roadway. From what I've read and what I've seen, people did not leave their keys in the car, so obviously no one could move the car. So after a certain point, bulldozers had to be employed to remove the cars. Listen to this as far as from ABC, as far as how some of these evacuations have gone.
The fire erupting in the Pacific Palisades foothills west of Los Angeles. Fire trucks racing to the scene, aircraft attacking it from above. But those efforts, no match for those devastating Santa Ana winds. The entire population of Pacific Palisades ordered to evacuate, traffic gridlocked for miles. Drivers stuck beside burning hillsides, some setting out on foot, vehicles catching fire.
And when you say on foot, it could be a rather long distance. You could be traveling or trying to flee with a family member who cannot move quickly. Could be with a child. Could be with a child and another family member. Child, family member, and a pet. All these things have to be taken into account prior to you deciding to leave.
Megan Garman, her daughter, and their dog evacuating on foot after they abandoned their vehicle.
Well, the smoke just got really bad, so I just started packing up all of our stuff, and we got in the car to go. And then all the cars were abandoned, so I had nowhere to go, so I just had to get out of my car and start walking. The smoke is so bad.
Authorities helping the family to safety.
Let me back up to those abandoned cars. And I know people were well-meaning. You were trying to evacuate. You were trying to follow the evacuation orders, but for whatever reasons, there was a bottleneck. And it got to the point where you realized you could no longer drive. There was no way that you could make it down the canyon by driving. So if you haven't seen the video, there are these rows and rows of cars extending more than a mile sitting in the roadway. And then eventually bulldozers had to be brought in to move the cars just so first responders could make it up the hill and find people, save people if need be, and also have fire trucks where they can at least get close to the edge of the fire.
Yeah, I want to take you here live right now. So this is Pacific Palisades. All of these cars were ditched. So all of the drivers panicked. They took their keys. This is Palisades Drive as well as Sunset Boulevard. This dozer is just moving these vehicles out of the way. So if this is your car, unfortunately, it's an emergency situation, and this is what they have to do. They are moving the cars as we speak. Unfortunately, there are dozens of cars. This looks like a movie set. Unfortunately, this is real. LA County Fire, they have to do what they have to do. They need to clear a path. So literally, they're moving the cars, the SUVs. We're seeing Mercedes, very nice vehicles, Teslas up here, but that's because the car owners, they took their keys and they just started running. They left the cars here as the firefighters were trying to clear the pathway, clear the roadway. This is an emergency situation where, they need to get up to the homes. They want to make sure people are not trapped up there. But this line of cars probably goes about 300 feet deep, at least as long as I can see from this bird's eye view. So we're kind of staying back. They're in a situation here where they are literally moving these vehicles out of the way. Yes, it is causing damage, as you can hear from the screeching noises, but that is what they have to do.
That is what we are seeing. That's what we're hearing. That's what we're learning about these evacuation orders in Pacific Palisades. And the reason why I wanted to spend a little time on that is because as this burgeoning Eaton Canyon fire in Altadena starts to grow, we have to be mindful of that same possibility where people will be asked to evacuate. You have to consider it, whether you have any special needs, things that you may have to do just to prepare to evacuate. And Tuala, I know you have have been in that area for many, many years. You know it far better than I do. If I were to ask about Eaton Canyon, that type of terrain, what might we be looking at? What would you say?
Eaton Canyon is about 3.5 miles away from where I live. So I've been in communication with my mother just to see what reports are coming her way, to see if anything may have to happen wherein we may need to evacuate. Right now, looking at some of the fire, what we're seeing here on KTLA, this is a tinderbox. You know, Eaton Canyon is a place where everyone loves to go and hike. There's a beautiful waterfall when you get up to the top, and it is a real attraction in, you know, the city of Altadena, Pasadena. And when I'm driving by, anytime I'm going to the movies or wherever, I drive along Altadena Drive and make my way over towards where the movie theater is. And I can tell you, it is just dry brush. A lot of green, but a lot of dry green because of how dry it's been. And it's very scary to see this because it's literally like a box of matches.
Cannot be any more serious than that. And I was, just to let you know, I was telling Tawal, I was like, look, if you need to leave to make sure your family is safe, you make sure you do that, because we can't wait until the last second to make these arrangements or make sure that everyone is safe. You may have an elderly relative that you have to give special consideration to. Do that now. Do not wait until then. Get in contact with that person now. Find out their status, find out where they are. They may not even be aware that there is a fire within a 5-mile radius of their residence. So you cannot wait to the last second. And we are going to be right here the whole evening to make sure you have as much information as possible, that it's accurate, that it's thorough, and it's helpful to not only protect you, but keep you in an informed place where you could possibly let your neighbors know, let your friends know. You may have family members in the impacted areas, and that's why KFI is here. We're going to stay here the rest of the night, all through the night, into the morning. And if you're just tuning in, you may not know, I'm going to be with you from now until midnight. Then Tim Conway Jr., who was on from 4 to 7 already today, is going to come back to the station, and he's going to rejoin you from midnight until 3 a.m. Neil Saavedra from 3 to 5 a.m. And then Amy King will take over in her normal time slot at 5 o'clock and start the day all the way over. So if you need information, if you're concerned about where the fire is going, how close it is to you, how it might impact you, evacuation orders, where you need to go, school closures, we will have all that information. In fact, Eileen Gonzalez will be on it as well for the rest of the evening. So keep it right here. And when we come back, we hope to be joined on the phone by Sue Cole, who is the president of the Pacific Palisades Community Council, who was evacuated earlier today. We're going to get her insight as far as what she has seen, what she's experienced, and what her own neighbors and family are going through right now.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
I'm Mo Kelly as we continue our coverage of the multiple fires now. The Pacific Palisades fire, which has burned more than 2,900 acres and threatens 10,000 homes. Multiple homes have already been destroyed, and we're also watching this burgeoning fire in Eaton Canyon, which is right above Altadena. And as we talk about the Palisades fire, I wanted to bring someone on who has some firsthand experience with what is happening today. And coming on the show right now is Sue Cole, who is the president of the Pacific Palisades Community Council. Sue, how are you this evening, all things considered?
Hi. Well, it's definitely a difficult day and difficult night. My family evacuated early today, but in the past hour, we've learned that our block has burned. So our neighborhood, which is in the middle of the flats in the village, is on fire. I'm pretty sure we've lost our home. And there's so many different neighborhoods in the Palisades where people have lost their homes. And I just pray that everybody was able to get out, because access in and out of the Palisades is extraordinarily difficult. There's very few roads in and out, just leading to Sunset. And then parts of Sunset and PCH were closed. So I was very grateful to get my family out early today. And I just pray for everybody there. It's our town is devastated from start to finish. Every neighborhood has been impacted.
What time did you receive the evacuation order, and then what time did you act upon it?
Well, I heard about evacuation orders being given for other areas up in the hills at about 10:30 this morning. So we closed our office, went home, and I just made the decision I wasn't going to wait for an evacuation order for our neighborhood. We packed up pets, medications, family photos. Unfortunately, no clothes. But we packed everybody up and left. And as we were driving out, I want to say it was probably about noon, I got word from our council person, Tracy Park, that our entire area, all of the Palisades, had been ordered to evacuate. So we didn't waste any time. You know, we just took time to grab a few things.
Was it relatively safe? I don't want to say easy, but was it manageable trying to evacuate via car, or did you have to abandon your car after a certain point?
Okay, the neighborhood I live in is a block away at Sunset Boulevard. So we were just able to get down to Sunset, head east on Sunset to the 405, and get out of town. The people who had to abandon their cars early on were coming from the Palisades Highlands, because there's one road up and one road down. So they were abandoning their cars and going on foot, trying to get down to the ocean. And unfortunately, some of them were driving on the wrong side of the street, which caused a major issue for the fire trucks trying to get up. So they had to bring in giant machinery to move cars out of the road to get up to the fire. And then the fire made its way all the way down Sunset Boulevard to PCH. So both Sunset and PCH were closed. And then the 10 freeway, was closed. And they had to close so many roads. So people had a hard time getting out. That's the biggest problem we have in the Palisades, is getting out.
Have you been able to contact any of your neighbors, or have you been able to find out their status? Now, you said that you feel that you might have lost all of your neighborhood, but have you been able to contact anyone?
Well, I don't know that all of the neighborhood went, because, usually there's houses that end up staying, but I've seen photographs of my block on fire, and I've heard from some of my neighbors that they've lost their homes, and certainly a lot of other neighborhoods. I have friends who live in all different neighborhoods of the Palisades, and I don't know about their individual homes, but I know homes in all of their neighborhoods are burning.
How long have you lived in the Palisades?
Over 30 years. And some of our schools are burning, our high school, our elementary school, all kinds of places are burning. It's just the most catastrophic thing that's happened in I don't even know how many years, because quite often it's just up in the hills. And in this case, it started in the hills and then came down. And now, from what I understand, a lot of people in Brentwood are being evacuated as well. Mandeville Canyon and all those areas in the hills in Brentwood. So and the winds are supposed to be staying in full force for at least another 24 hours. So that's it.
Ms. Cole, I'm not going to hold you much longer. You have far more important things to do than talk to me, but I think it's important that people hear your voice and hear your story. You were able to evacuate. You were able to evacuate your pets and other family members, but what is the first step that you're going to take after today?
I have to tell you, I haven't thought that far. I'm just grateful that we're all here and safe, and we won't be going back to the Palisades, obviously, until it's over, and I don't know what there will be to go back to, honestly.
Who is with you right now as far as family?
My husband, one of my 5 adult children, and our other kids live in other parts of the state and other parts of the country. And we've got our 3 dogs, so that's our closest family here.
But everyone is together and everyone is physically safe.
Yes.
Sue Cole, who's the president of the Pacific Palisades Community Council, thank you for obviously what you're doing for your neighbors in your neighborhood. And thank you for coming on and sharing your story. And also, in spite of all of what is going on, you are helping other people right now.
Thank you so much. I hope all of your listeners will pray for us in the Palisades.
Absolutely. We're going to continue our coverage of the fires in Pacific Palisades and also Eaton Canyon. And as more information comes in, we'll make sure to give it to you directly.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
As we continue our coverage of the fires burning not only in Pacific Palisades, but Eaton Canyon above Altadena. Let me talk about that just a moment. If you don't know, or if you're just tuning in, LA County firefighters are battling a second brush fire, and it has a potential for quick growth. In fact, it's already burned more than 200 acres, and it began relatively recently in the Eaton Canyon area near Altadena. The fire was first reported around 6:40 p.m. in the area above Altadena. This is according to the LA Fire Department. And early numbers from firefighters showed the blaze had engulfed more than 200 acres of brush and was burning uphill at a rapid pace. And if you weren't listening last segment, the reason I talk about that is fires can move very quickly. We have the Santa Ana winds. It can skip roads. It can skip areas, across areas very, very quickly. And so if you should receive a recommended evacuation order, don't wait for the mandatory one. Please leave your homes as quickly and expeditiously as possible. And it got me thinking about always having a go bag. Last segment, we were hearing the very heart-wrenching story of Sue Cole, who she says presumably has lost her house, and everyone on her block has lost their houses in Pacific Palisades. But she did not pause. She did not wait. She heard the evacuation order, and she and her family left immediately. And if she is right that she lost her house, just following the evacuation order saved her life, saved her family members' lives. And obviously she was prepared to leave at that moment's notice. And everyone should have a go bag. And I know that's a weird way to term it, but you always should be ready to go in a moment's notice in case of an emergency.
This is abnormal.
But not everyone may know what is supposed to be in a go bag. And so this is just for anyone who may be wondering what you should put in it or what you should be putting in it right now in case that you have to leave at a moment's notice.
Now, this latest shaker is another reminder that we should be prepared for future quakes and other natural disasters.
KCAL News Orange County reporter Michelle Geely has some tips on how to be ready.
First aid kits, we have bandages. When the ground shakes in Southern California, it's a reminder to get ready for an emergency. Experts say one of the easiest things to do is pack what's known as a go bag filled with essentials.
You may lose a lot of stuff in an earthquake. To have that go bag ready to go, whether it's in your car, whether it's at your bedside, could be a matter of life and death for you and your family.
Flashlight.
The idea is to have it stocked with supplies to get your family through the first 72 hours and readily available in case of an earthquake.
Batteries and multiple batteries, different sizes properly to go with different things. You want to have a drinking supply of water, non-perishable, that can last you up to 3 days, including food. We do have meals that are ready to eat. You can buy these at various stores, or other type of dry goods that will last, basically.
Medical supplies in a first aid kit and a tourniquet, a whistle, and a pocket knife. Last but not least.
So a good old adjustable wrench. This is for many opportunities to turn off a gas leak in your home, a water leak, or anything else from either inside or outside. You want to know where those valves are. A gas leak can be just as dangerous after the earthquake.
Lee Kaiser will mobilize with dozens of other Orange County officials here at the Emergency Operations Center in Santiago Canyon when a major earthquake hits to guide the disaster response.
And here are some other things that you should have in your bag: medication, cash, pet food if you have pets to care for, an extra set of prescription glasses, and don't forget your ID.
Stefan, you and I are in similar circumstances. We're dealing with aging parents, and you can't only think about just yourself. If I think of a go bag, it's not just me. I always have to be mindful of my mother, who's in her mid 80s. Like if this fire were in a different part of town, I have to think about her leaving at a moment's notice and making sure that she's aware of the circumstances. She may not be listening to KFI right now. She may not have the TV on and knowing that there is imminent danger, or she might be in immediate danger. How do you try to navigate that when you're dealing with a parent who may not be in the best of health?
That's a difficult question because it also ties up to their personality, because my dad is I kind of got it from him, but he kind of looks away from everything around the world and just focuses on what's important to him at that time. So luckily I'm very close physically. I live very close to him. So if something like this were to happen, I would luckily be able to just scoop him up and take him out. And I would just handle all the, I don't think he has a go bag, but all the stuff that he would actually need to, continue day by day if there was a really, really bad emergency.
This is a conversation I do have with my mother as far as making sure that I know where her medication is, know where the important documents are.
Yes.
If we're talking about something like a fire, we need this, we need that. We got to make sure that we can take that. Now, the good news is in today's world, a lot of that can be stored online in the cloud, but there's still physical documentation and there are physical pictures. There are mementos that she would want to take with her if need be at a moment's notice. But you have to talk about that in advance. And I think we have someone who's joining us right now. I think it's Supervisor Horvath. Yes. Hold on one second. We're going to get her on the line and get some information on the Pacific Palisades fire. Just go ahead and put it on hold. Put it on hold. We'll just take it right now. So joining us on the show right now is LA County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath, who's going to give us the latest. Supervisor, what bring her up? Supervisor Horvath, thank you for joining the show under short notice. Let me just get out of the way and let you address the KFI audience as far as what they need to know right about now.
Absolutely. We are under evacuation orders. Close to 10,000 people are under an evacuation order. About 4,700 homes are under that order, and even more are in the evacuation warning area. We know that these orders are very important in order to keep not only the residents themselves safe. Obviously, we want to keep everybody safe and not have any casualties, but we also want to make sure that our frontline firefighters, law enforcement, emergency personnel who are working to keep people safe, get this fire contained, and protect people's neighborhoods and property, that they're staying safe too. So the most important thing people can do is follow the evacuation orders that are being issued and take these orders very seriously.
I know that there's a lot of information which is flowing from a lot of sources and different origin points. Do we know when there's going to be an updated media advisory where we'll get a press conference and have some sort of better understanding of where we are? Is that going to be tomorrow morning at this point?
Yes. So we had one at 4 p.m., but we know that the worst of the winds haven't yet hit us. So from 10 p.m. tonight to about 5 in the morning is going to be the worst of it. So we intend to have a press conference at 8 in the morning, and that will be, that's what the current plan is. But of course, given the conditions that are yet to come, we'll have to contend with that throughout the night and make that determination at that time. But that's the plan right now.
We know that the LA County supervisors, the Board of Supervisors, they're responsible for the allocation of resources in moments just like these. We know that there is another brush fire which is growing in Eaton Canyon right above Altadena. I don't think that is in your area of responsibility, but just how do the LA County Board of Supervisors, how do they manage situations like these?
Yeah, so I did text a little bit back and forth with Supervisor Berger when I heard her district was also impacted through this Eaton fire, and it is growing. We have a lot of training that we do throughout the year in our district. We host community events for emergency preparedness to make sure that people know at a time of emergency, should your power go out, should your cellular connection be down, should your internet be down, how do you access information, how do you stay informed, and how do you make sure that you're staying safe? Because when the emergency hits, you're thinking about all kinds of other things. So the best thing that you can do is be prepared. That being said, we know a lot of this information doesn't really hit folks until a situation has come to them that requires them to be paying attention. And so there are a lot of people today for whom this felt like a surprise, even though, late last week, the National Weather Service was already informing us that the confluence of conditions that we're seeing, which create the PDS circumstance that we have been on alert now for several days from the National Weather Service. This is the set of conditions that puts people at high risk, and so we need to make sure that people know how to access that information, how to stay informed, and then in this time of emergency that they are able to follow those evacuation orders and stay in communication to stay safe.
I'm not going to hold you long. I just want to ask you this one other question, and you may not know the answer to this, but I feel compelled to ask anyway. Do you know if resources have been called in from outside the state, like Arizona or Nevada, to also help in this endeavor?
Well, what I do know is the governor shared this afternoon that he spoke with the president, who is also in my district tonight, actually, that the federal government has issued authorization for vehicles that are essential to fighting this fire and its complexity. So, some of the tools, some of the vehicles that need to be called upon are not resources that LA County has in its possession, but we ask for them at a time like this. And in this case, the state resources, the governor declared a state of emergency, and so all state resources are available. There were resources from Northern California that were deployed in Southern California, just in the area over the weekend. So we have been in preparation. We are calling on resources from far and wide. All hands are on deck. City, county, state, and federal government are all working together to put our best foot forward and make sure we contain this thing and keep people safe as best as possible. So the most important thing at this time is partnership, and the way that people can be a partner to our first responders right now is heeding those evacuation warnings, because it not only keeps the community safe, but it also keeps our first responders safe.
LA County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath. Supervisor Horvath, thank you for coming on under really short notice. I hit you like 3 minutes ago, and then you came right on the show. Thank you so much, because it's a valuable asset. I always appreciate the opportunity. All right, we'll talk soon.
Of course. All right, thank you.
KFI AM 640, we will continue our coverage of the fires, not only in Pacific Palisades, but also Eaton Canyon. So keep it right here for the latest. We are live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Fires are raging. KFI News is working. Stay safe. Stay informed.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live.